Hello everybody. So, plants feel pain. You vegans are against killing animals because they feel pain. Therefore, you are at least as morally responsible as I am when I kill animals, and you are a hypocrite because you kill plants. So, there are a few implications in this argument. First of all is that plants are sentient because, of course, in order to process and feel pain, they need to be able to have a subjective experience, right? And this also makes sense because vegans aren't just against eating animals because they feel pain. Killing animals is an animal rights violation, and it would not be okay to just, for example, shoot them in the back of the head when they aren't looking, just like it would be a human rights violation to do that to a human. Second implication is that plants have the same value as animals. This is because if animals had more value, then this argument wouldn't hold up because, okay, plants feel pain, animals feel more pain, eat plants instead of animals. And meat eaters like to accuse vegans of holding animals to the same value that we hold human beings. But interestingly enough, this argument holds plants to the same value as animals and perhaps even human beings because the boundaries of plant pain aren't really defined, and once I get through my argument, you're gonna come to really understand that. And finally, the last implication is that vegans cause more plant deaths and suffering than meat eaters. Because otherwise, okay, plants feel pain, animals also feel pain, vegans cause less death to both plants and animals, therefore, go vegan. So, first of all, I would like to argue that plants do not feel pain. And this is for a few reasons. They do not have a central nervous system, a brain, or pain receptors. You can look at the anatomy of a broccoli next to the anatomy of a pig and even a fish, and you will see that the pig or fish has brain, central nervous system, pain receptors, while the broccoli does not. This is what the inside of a plant looks like, in case you forgot. I don't see any of these here. And it also wouldn't make evolutionary sense for plants to evolve to feel pain. It does make evolutionary sense with animals, however, and I'll tell you why. So, let's say there's me, and this is in caveman times, so let's say there's me, and then there's my buddy Grog, right? And we're in two separate situations, right? I get attacked by a mountain lion or some other animal, right? And it's biting into me, and I can't feel pain, so I just don't care. And then I die, right? Because I don't care if it's biting into me. Let's just say Grog, on the other hand, it bites into him. He's like, aha! Get this off of me! Punch, runs away, and then he goes and has sex with who would be my cave wife. And he's able to reproduce and pass down his genes, right? The difference is, with this apple, for example, let's say I bite into it because, like, I'm in the place of the mountain lion, right? It can't run away, right? So why would it evolve to feel pain just so that it could feel pain and then die? That doesn't make sense because evolutionary things evolve when they help you not die. Pain doesn't do that. And in some situations, it has been shown to be the opposite, actually, and that some plants have evolved to be sweet and colorful so that animals eat them and then spread around their seeds in their feces and such. Furthermore, the idea of plants feeling pain does not pass the smell test. Like, let's say, for example, I kidnapped a dog from off the street, or I stole my neighbor's dog or something, right? And I brought him here in front of the camera, right? Like right here, right? And I I actually don't really have any weapons for this. And I choked him to death, killed him, stabbed him, cut him up, all on camera, right? And then I took this apple, and I took another bite of the apple. Would you say to that, oh my goodness, that poor apple, right? So it's like, do you really think that plants feel pain? I mean, come on. It's just kind of intuitively ridiculous. So you might hear this and say, well, plants can react to stimuli. I saw a paper that's like, plants cry out for help or release chemicals when they're being chewed on. Or you can even sensationalize it and say plants know when they're being eaten, you know, because pain implies sentience, because they know, right? But the thing is, if reacting to stimuli is the threshold for feeling pain, then is my computer this thing? That was a nice little wobble. If my computer... sorry, I forgot my train of thought. My computer is reacting to stimuli all the time, right? I'm moving the mouse around right now. You can't see it, obviously, but I'm moving the mouse around by touching the touchpad. That's a reaction to stimuli. If I press start recording and it started recording, that's a reaction to stimuli, right? If I'm driving my car and the check engine light comes on, that's a reaction to stimuli, right? Does that mean that my car is saying, "Oh, my engine's really hurts and something's wrong with it. Can you take me to the doctor? Can you like fix me up, please?" Does that mean that we have a moral obligation to our cars and our computers? And for an example with a living thing, let's just say my skin, right? So I actually am sunburned in this, so it's a funny example. So let's say I go and get suntanned outside, right? So when that happens, my skin releases melanin, at least I think that's how it works. And that's a reaction to stimuli, right? Does that mean that my skin is saying, "Ooh, ow, the sun's rays are really..." Ooh, I mean, if I get really sunburned, that could happen, but... Do I have a moral obligation to my skin? I mean... So, the ability to react to stimuli does not necessarily mean that something is conscious or capable of feeling pain. Moreover, we're just kind of assuming that. Well, not we, because I don't agree with that. But if you're saying that this is the reason that plants feel pain, you're just assuming that. And that is much weaker evidence than, for example, you know, the evidence that animals feel pain, right? And all of the mechanisms that we have to determine that other animals and people feel pain, which is that they show it, they run away from things, fish swim away from, like, toxic areas in water, animals avoid, like, carbon dioxide gas, and people and animals like will scream at you if you try to hurt them. And of course, we have brains and central nervous systems and pain receptors, and I think that that's a much more sensible way of deducing that something is pain rather than it just reacting to stimuli. So if your reaction to this is to say that sentience is basically arbitrary and we're just guessing all the time, then that would basically completely destroy any type of morality and any moral system that we have. And it would justify doing any amount of harm to human beings or animals. I mean, it is being used to justify harm to animals, but to human beings as well. And that's because assuming that sentience can or can't exist in anything, just because there's no objective measurement for it, and that we should make choices, real-life choices around that notion, right? Because the point of this argument is that we should be able to eat animals. This justifies almost any immoral action. Like, is murder moral because we can't prove that someone else is sentient, right? Should we not breathe air because that might be sentient, or walk on the earth because that might be sentient, you know? If I pick up this cup, this mug, and I do this to it, Is that an immoral action? Have I violated its rights because it might be sentient? Past that, if we're assuming that plants can feel pain just because they're alive, then so does bacteria, and all of their pain, suffering, hopes, and dreams would make ours basically irrelevant. Obviously, it's the more logical decision to only perceive something as sentient if it possesses a mechanism to create sentience, and we know that there is one for animals and not one for plants. Finally, the last implication is that vegans cause more plant deaths and suffering than meat eaters. Well, remember, when thinking about how many plant deaths occur because of what you eat, the animals don't photosynthesize, unlike plants, by the way. This means that their calories have to come from somewhere, and that somewhere is from plants. Because farm animals are force bred into existence just for the sake of being eaten, the plants that they must be counted in what it takes to produce their flesh, and this amount of plants isn't negligible by any standard. And of course, this is one of the reasons why animal agriculture is so bad for the environment. And of course, when you're feeding plants into animals and then eating them, the conversion ratio of plant calories to animal flesh calories is not 1-to-1. It's actually pretty bad. I don't know what it is off the top of my head. I think it might be like 16-to-1 or something. So basically, if you eat animals, you are not only responsible for the enslavement and murder of the animal that you're eating, but huge amounts of pain to innocent and vulnerable plants as well. So, because #GrassLivesMatter, go or stay vegan.